my God! That is a giant catfish. Look at that,
Man now accused of shooting and killing a man in 2017. Kendall Curry is now charged with second-degree murder in the death of Marvin Peacock.
Out of his red car, that's the car that crossed the median, and he came running over to my car and said, really, he seemed very panicked and he seemed very afraid, and he said, call 911, please call 911.
Tonight, we're hearing from a nurse who jumped in to help a local social media star who was shot in downtown Fort Myers.
Myers police say someone shot Bailey's car. He veered over the median and crashed into a truck. Now, tonight, detectives are looking for whoever was in this Ford Expedition.
The thing about it is this. You might get away today, but you might not get away tomorrow. It's best to try to live an honest life out the gate, because your past will hit you at the very worst time. But hey, that's what they call karma, right? Fam, today, we're going to head to Florida. We're going to shine light on a popular Florida social media star who seemed to have been ambushed broad daylight while driving his car before crashing. Thank God a fan had noticed him and took him to the very first police officer he saw. It seemed he in a wheelchair right now, with his mother recently speaking up, but you'll later hear from. But let's keep it real for a second. Somebody take the first chance they get to touch you, broad daylight, and risk they self being caught. You done did something. But long story short, revenge don't have a date on it. We know that. Especially when you got a case like today, where you helped do a crime with your buddy, get caught, but only your buddy doing time for it. Not to mention, you was with this man, who allegedly rode on y'all quote-unquote ops that started from a beef you had, which we'll later discuss. And I gotta be real. I don't know how being a social media influencer can help in these ways. You never know who coming after you. Your enemy or even your close friend, especially after you assisted in them serving almost 2 decades in jail. And as we said at the very beginning, they was riding for you. I know looking back, you probably wish you haven't hanged with nobody, because soon as you found your purpose in life, boom, your past that hit you. But this wasn't the first attempt on your life. This was the second. This time you got touched. Without wasting too much time on this intro, fam, that's what we got here today. So before we go over this one, I want you guys to remember, I don't give you no angle. I just give you the story. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're gonna jump right to it. Over the weekend, a 28-year-old man who go by the name Rasheem Bailey, aka Rara, he also known as Hoodfishing ENT, recently posting his challenge, beating the rapper Boosie with the number of fish he caught at once with 127. Check it out.
It's your boy Hood Fishing. Not 126 catfish, but 127 mullets. Y'all see what time it is. Hey, I'm gonna count them for y'all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Stop it. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. That's 27 mullet, man. Not 126 catfish, 127 mullets, man. That's what time it is, man. Shout out to Boosie, but your boy Hood Fishing had to do it again.
From Fort Myers, Florida. He used to hang with the group called Chop Boys from an area of Campbell Acres neighborhood. They've been having some public beef for some time now, with the crew called Brook Hill Boys, based out of Brook Hill neighborhood, and Bucktown Boys, Sable Palms neighborhood, both in Florida. On November 13th, 2017, a 21-year-old man from Fort Myers was identified as the victim of a fatal shooting Sunday night at Thomas Street. Fort Myers police responded to a call of gunshots. It was heard around 7:35 p.m. They found Marvin Peacock laying on the ground. According to police, Peacock died at the scene. May he rest in peace and love and condolences to his family. Now, a couple people from Hoodfishing ENT neighborhood or his group was arrested and also questioned for the demise of Peacock. Peacock family came out to the public before an arrest and said they believe someone who knew their son had took his life. And that's unfortunate, because that's normally how it always go. In Fort Myers, they have a day called Chucky Sundays that be hosted at a complex called Stars Complex in Fort Myers. Hoodfishing ENT was arrested a month later on an unrelated charge. And according to his probable cause affidavit, several detectives with the homicide unit of Fort Myers Police Department were summoned to respond to the scene to manage the investigation moving forward of Peacock Jr. Detective Emily was assigned to the lead investigator for the homicide offense. During the course of the investigation, several suspects were identified through various leads, to include but not limited to Rasheem Courtney Bailey, aka Rara. On November 30th, 2017, Bailey, aka Rara or Hoodfishing ENT, by the Cape Coral Police Department for aggravated assault and possession of an unlawful weapon firearm resulting from his arrest. Several items of property were seized as evidence from Bailey's possession, including one firearm, a Samsung cellular phone, a Nissan vehicle, which would be later key to this story. On the next page of the affidavit, it said on December 7, 2017, the detective obtained a search warrant to lawfully collect a DNA sample from the cheek of Rara. The next day on the 8th, detectives spoke with Bailey on the 1700 block of Monroe Street after they completed his DNA swap. Approximately 20 minutes after, the detectives at the courthouse got a call from FMPD indicating that Bailey was in the lobby requesting to speak with her. Detectives responded to the lobby and made contact with Bailey and escorted him on the elevator to the second floor interview room. The detective led Bailey into the room and requested the power off of his cell phone. And when asked why did he come to the police department, which Bailey answered, "Because you all trying to search me." The detective had informed Bailey they were not trying to search him, as a service of a search warrant was completed and his DNA sample has been lawfully collected. Bailey asked why the search warrant was obtained, to which detective had pointed to a copy of a search warrant where it clearly listed the nature of the investigation as murder. Bailey argued with the police and said he knew nothing about it. He then demanded to know the details of the probable cause, allowing the approval of the search warrant to collect his DNA. The detective declined to provide details of the probable cause to Bailey and asked if he wanted to provide a statement in reference to the murder of Marvin Peacock, in which he agreed. At that point, he was read his Miranda rights. Early in the interview, fidgeting with his cell phone, the detectives observed him trying to record the interview and take photographs. Bailey then put the phone on the table in front of the detective. During the interview, Bailey was evasive with the answers and was extremely vague with providing details of his whereabouts the night of the murder. In addition, he made comments indicate he disliked the police, claimed the police tried to pin him in the case. His cell phone was seized, with Bailey responding, "That's effed up, that's effed up." As they enter the elevator and go to the first floor, detectives attempt to tell Bailey she must continue the investigation to verify the information provided to the point, to include the information provided during the interview. Bailey would not listen and continued to curse and yell at the detective. His voice was becoming louder as he reached the first floor. Eventually, he told the detectives to walk light. Them photos that he tried to take in an interview room, Rara actually sent them on Snapchat before even making the quote, "walk light." According to the affidavit, they believe Rara was trying to get the detective lined up for investigating him by sending they pictures via Snapchat. On December 14, 2017, a detective had been in contact with a man by the name of Stevie Gurry, who is a friend of Rara. This contact began during a traffic stop and continued when Gurry agreed to participate in a formal interview at the Fort Myers Police Department in reference to the demise of Marvin Peacock. During the initial contact at the traffic stop, and again during a formal interview, detectives asked Gurry if he was familiar with the terms walk light and asked if he knows the meaning of them. Gurry confirms he knows the terms mean a person needs to watch their back and aware of their surroundings. It should be noted that during the interview, Gurry also mentioned that Rara had sent them a photo on Snapchat, specifically the photo that Bailey took of the detective in the interview room. The next week, on December 21st, 2017, the detectives end up interviewing Hoodfishing ENT, girlfriend and his baby mother, who was also the owner of the Nissan he was driving, which we'll later discuss. Jones was asked about Bailey saying "walk light" to the detective. Jones acknowledged that that phrase is a threat and said that Bailey should never have said that, and she told him such. And a week after that, at 8:45 a.m., a sergeant met with Rara in the courthouse and placed him under arrest for an active pickup request. And at that point, he was arrested in connection of Peacock Jr. But we also found the true motive on why all this occurred and who was involved and how detectives actually got their lead break. The guy that was arrested and charged with almost 2 decades in jail was Kendall James Curry, charged with second degree with the firearm
Man now accused of shooting and killing a man in 2017. Kendall Curry is now charged with second-degree murder in the death of Marvin Peacock. Now, Curry is being held in federal custody, waiting for sentencing on additional charges. If you have any information on that homicide case, you can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-780-TIPS.
They say on or about at around 7:32 p.m., officers were in the South Ward Village public housing facility near the intersection of Dorr Street in a marked uniform car. Officers heard around 20 to 30 gunshots near the location and immediately drove in the direction to conduct further investigation. While driving forward, the officer observed a red and silver four-wheeler in the area where the gunshots were heard. It was mentioned that the four-wheeler was driving on the wrong side of the street on Edison Avenue. Due to hearing the gunshots in the area, the man on the four-wheeler ended up leaving at a high rate of speed. Authorities ended up chasing him. He was later determined to be Tyrone Hopkins. The four-wheeler ended up crashing on 2132 Palm Avenue after he drove the four-wheeler in the fence. Hopkins jumped off the four-wheeler and ran into the house. The officers immediately created a secure perimeter around the house before obtaining him and arresting him without any injury. After giving him his sworn statement, he agreed to talk to authorities. Hopkins confirmed that he witnessed the entire shooting/homicide offense. Hopkins confirmed that he was with the victim and several other friends at Stars Complex to attend Chucky Sunday festivals. Hopkins stated the entire group of boys he was with were all riding dirt bikes and four-wheelers. Hopkins advised that the victim was driving a dirt bike. He also stated that they all left Stars Complex at around 7:30 and drove northbound towards MLK Boulevard. Hopkins indicated that he was riding in the back of the group where he observed the suspect vehicle he described as a white four-door vehicle. Hopkins observed multiple shots fired at the victim through the rear driver's side of the vehicle. He further advised that the vehicle came to a stop. A male exited the rear driver's side, walked to the victim, and stood over the victim and continued to fire multiple shots into the victim. The male suspect then turned, walked over, and re-entered the vehicle before it sped away. Hopkins is considered a witness to the incident, and at that time, there was no indication that he had played any active role in the shooting of the victim. Hopkins was later transported to Lee County Jail to be processed and for lodging. On that day, it also mentioned on the day that Peacock Jr. lost his life, the Communications Division of Fort Myers Police Department received several phone calls requesting emergency police response to the 2700 block of Lemon Street for a report of multiple gunshots fired in the area. Several patrol units with the Fort Myers Police responded to the area to conduct further investigation. Officer arrived at the scene and spoke to several residents. A neighbor had reported that a Nissan vehicle was parked in their rear yard at the 2716 Lemon Street. The resident clearly stated that the vehicle did not belong to them, and they had no idea why it was parked in the rear yard. And having a neighbor saying a suspicious car was there just hearing gunshots hours later, authorities assumed it was connected. But that wasn't the case. While inspecting the vehicle, a black male identified as Cherokee Dante Rodriguez Sr. walked out the residence and stood next to the vehicle and told officers that the vehicle belonged to his boy. The dad then told officers to leave the vehicle alone. Deputy then asked the father who was his boy, in which he refused to answer and turned away. Now, even though that wasn't the same vehicle for that case, because it fit the description before they confirmed that was the wrong vehicle, this dad caught a case as a convicted felon trying to protect his son, which happens all the time. His son ended up arriving to the scene and he ended up getting arrested as well. The Nissan vehicle was told the Fort Myers Police Department to be searched following a pending search warrant. The son then gets to the interview room and make the following statements. He stated that he was inside the white Nissan during the day of the evening hours of November 12, 2017. He also admits that fingerprints and DNA would likely be inside the Nissan of his, but he refused to provide the names of his friends he was in the vehicle with. He did not provide further details as to when and where he fired the firearm. He also stated that he was at the Stars Complex on the afternoon of the evening Sunday to attend Chalk Sunday's festival. But the next day after Peacock Jr. lost his life, police went back to the house on Lemon Street after having the search warrant. The father advised officers he or his family would not be leaving the residence or allowing officers inside the home unless they produced a search warrant. But officers did obtain a search warrant and showed him and said he could stay in the house while the search warrant was conducted. A few minutes later, Terry, the dad that is, and his two children tried to exit the residence, but he was stopped. Once returning back to his house, he left out again and began walking westbound in an attempt to leave the property. The officers clearly explained to Rodriguez that if he would leave the property, they would need to ensure he was not taking any property or evidence within value from the house. As officers attempted to pat down the father, he became visibly uncomfortable and quoted, "I've got a firearm on me." The officers found a firearm, a scale, and a bag of Mary Jane inside his underwear. The officer also noted that he was wearing two shorts. The dad was later arrested as a convicted felon in possession of a firearm. After getting to the interview room, he explained he was trying to get the firearm out of his house. He further advised that he observed the firearm inside the fireplace in his living room and intended to throw it in the garbage after he left the scene. He stated he previously asked his son to get that crap out of his house. He stated that his son had arrived at home before 8 p.m. and had 4 friends with him. He refused to provide the names of his friends. He then indicated he wished to speak to an attorney. Depicted above is the Nissan vehicle that was seized during the arrest of the father on November 13, 2017. Detectives received camera position in the 2900 block of Thomas Street, which is owned by the state, but couldn't identify the exact model of the car, though it resembled. It should be noted that during the initial canvassing efforts, detectives viewed and obtained security footage from the residence located in the 3000 block of Thomas Street. The residence is located just a short distance on the east side of the intersection of Thomas Street. In the days following the homicide, detectives requested additional canvass of the area surrounding the scene in the efforts to locate any additional security cameras. They obtained security footage from Red Bones Liquor Store, located at 2900 block of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and also Boyd's Funeral Home, located on the 2900 block of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. After reviewing the footage, it captured each location and confirmed the suspect turning from Brown Street until Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard continued eastbound at a high rate of speed. This additional footage also provided clear images of the suspect vehicle, which the detective identified as a white Dodge Avenger, modeled in 2014. Based on the additional footage, detectives ruled out the direct involvement of the Nissan that was previously seized in the shooting and the demise of Peacock Jr. So as we just stop for a second before we continue, a dad got another felony charge. He ended up having to serve 11 years, and his son got arrested as well, even though they was ruled out later in the investigation. When detectives obtained the footage from the 3000 block of Thomas Street, she saw the person as the rear passenger side leaning his entire body out of the window as the vehicle approached the intersection of Thomas Street. The detective reviewed the footage and observed the same depicted footage as well. Detectives received information through anonymous tips, including the homicide of Peacock Jr., which was a result of an ongoing beef and tension between several neighborhoods, gangs/group within Fort Myers. Specifically, Peacock is affiliated with the Brook Hill Boys, as we mentioned, from Brook Hill neighborhood, and Bucktown Boys from the Sable Palms neighborhood. The two neighborhood gangs/groups have an ongoing beef and tension with Chop Boys from Campbell Acres neighborhood. In addition, the tips also refers to an incident of a physical altercation occurred between these opposing groups, thus resulting in the escalation in tension between them. The tip information indicated that a Chop Boy with the street name Rah-Rah, aka Hoodfishing Entertainment, was beat up by boys affiliated with the Bucktown Boys and the Brook Hill Boys. The information provided identified Rah-Rah as Rasheem Courtney Bailey. The physical altercation was not reported to police. So as we pause for a second, now we know the motive behind Peacock Jr. losing his life. Days before, Rah was jumped and beat up. But now we're about to see how they all got caught up and how eventually Rah helped cooperate to get his man almost 2 decades in jail for a situation he was allegedly involved in. On the night of Thursday, November 23rd, detectives had focused a patrol in the immediate surrounding area of where the homicide occurred and in the Campbell's Acre neighborhood, which is also known as Chop Boys Turf. This began done in the efforts to locate the vehicle used by the suspects on the night of the homicide and to locate additional individuals with information. While driving through the Campbell Acres community, the detectives had located a white Dodge Avenger with the Florida tags that was parked in the driveway of the 800 block of Xana Drive. 2 black males, later identified as Kendall Curry and Stevie Gurry, aka Mutt Mutt, were standing in the driveway near the vehicle. Both Kendall Curry and Stevie Gurry are documented in the FMPD records to be members of / affiliated with Chop Boys gang/group. The detectives conducted a search records of the Dodge Avenger from the David database, and the year of the model was 2013, registered to Michael Curry, the dad of Kendall Curry, who lived in the home of the driveway. And so we stay on point. They did a hit in a car that was parked in their driveway. Here's our pictures from the security footage, and here are pictures from this driveway. After noticing the two, and on Friday 24th, 2017, at around 8:11 p.m., the detective was contacted by an officer of the Fort Myers Police Department gang unit. Officer Sanders advised that he had just completed a traffic stop and spoke with a guy named William Scott. And during this interaction, Scott provided detailed information to Officer Sanders regarding the homicide of Peacock Jr. The following is a partial summary of Officer Sanders' interaction with Scott. Scott stated that he was at the Thomas Street Apartments at the time of the shooting/M. The apartment complex is located at 2930 Thomas Street and is a short distance to the west Thomas Street area where the homicide occurred. Scott stated that the M1 occurred because of an ongoing beef between the Bucktown boys and the Chop boys. He advised that the tension between the groups recently worsened because Rah-Rah Chop Boy was beaten up/jumped by members of Bucktown. Scott stated that this altercation occurred near Brook Hill neighborhood. Scott stated that he saw the suspect vehicle and identified the vehicle as a white Dodge Avenger, and further advised that the Avenger belonged to Kendall Curry. Scott stated that he saw Mama, S. Gurry, Speedy, Kendall, and Rah-Rah in the Avenger that night. He further advised that Mama has a Facebook account by the name of Alejandro Sosa and identified as Donovan Gale. Scott advised that he went to school with Gale and he was familiar with the other boys. Scott stated that the suspect hit Peacock off his dirt bike during the shooting/homicide. Scott stated that the shooting was hanging out the window when he shot the victim. It should be noted that the entire interaction and conversation between Scott was captured by body-worn camera footages of Officer Sanders and also requested by the family TV. That body cam footage was reviewed and was confirmed. Detectives believe Scott's account of what occurred to be accurate and honest as he relayed details that were not known by or released to the public. It mentioned that Scott knew the exact make and model of the car. Scott described the victim was hit off his dirt bike and described that the person who shot the victim was hanging out the window of the Avenger. On November 29, 2017, at around 6 a.m., detectives along with the homicide unit executed a lawful search warrant at the address where the Dodge was found on the 800 block of Zana Drive, Fort Myers. During the execution of the search warrant, multiple items with evidence located and collected. Some were evidence including recovered, but not limited to, contraband, narcotics, a 40 cal phone, which was all located in Kendall's Curry bedroom. During the search warrant, Curry was placed in the rear of the officer's patrol vehicle with the heat on as it was cold outside and he had his night clothes on with no shirt. The following partial summary of contents and interactions with Curry as he was seated even moments with his mom in the back seat. Curry provided information about his whereabouts, saying he was at home online playing the Xbox. A search warrant was conducted and a forensics download of Curry's iPhone was obtained by the detectives. It quoted, "On the night that Peacock lost his life, a guy that go by the name of Cuz City had quoted, 100 handle, 100, that love you too, Nick, 100, 100 was responded by Curry. The other dude responded, it's just you and Rah-Rah? Curry responded, yeah, we just canceled it. Check the book. It's a wrap. Curry also responded, bingo. Police later looked up the phone number that was attached and found the Facebook of the man who he was talking to. The guy name was Ryan Pooley. The detectives found another thread on that same night from Lil Bro. Bro, we was just on all day, LOL. Hell yeah. We all back later on. Response? Let me know. Response from Curry. Yeah, I ain't done. I'm going on a mission with Rah-Rah. Love you. Cuz responded. Y'all back on? Lil Bro responded. I'm here. Boogie not back yet. Cuz responded. Alright. Curry, I'm here waiting on City. Lil Bro said City. Cuz City said yo. Lil Bro said where you at? The guy who was identified as Lil Bro was walking surly. Now at this point, I got more than enough information on him to be arrested. And as we mentioned, he whipped out on an undercover who was keeping him under surveillance, thinking he was being trailed by his opposition, which is how he got arrested. Rasheem Bailey was lawfully arrested by officers at the Cape Carroll Police Department during the late night hours of November 30th, 2017. He was subsequently booked in the Lee County Jail for the offense of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and carrying a concealed firearm. The detectives was in contact with CCPD immediately following the arrest of Rasheem Bailey, aka Rah-Rah. The sergeant obtained details leading to the arrest of Bailey, and he learned that Bailey was the sole occupant of a vehicle at the time of his arrest, at which time a firearm and a black Samsung cellular phone was recovered from his custody and control. It should be noted that the vehicle Bailey was in at the time of his arrest was registered to his girlfriend, the mother of his child, Shamira Jones. The vehicle was a silver Nissan Versa with Florida tags, and this being the same Nissan Versa described and referenced by Kendall Curry during the post-Miranda interview. The vehicle was seized as the items of the evidence at the time Bailey's arrest was taken to secure impound facility of the Cape Carroll Police Department. 4 days later, on the 14th of December in 2017, the Fort Myers Police Department gang unit officers had conducted a traffic stop of a red 2011 Toyota Camry displaying the Florida tags. The driver and the registered owner of the Toyota was identified as Stevie D. Gurry. The detective arrived to the scene at the traffic stop at which time Gary agreed to be transported to Fort Myers Police Department to be interviewed. During the traffic stop, 2 firearms was located. Officers observed what appeared to be a fresh bullet hole damage to the driver's side lower pillar. Gary was asked about the bullet damage, in which Gary stated that he was on Xana Drive on December 12, 2017, when Raheem Fields was shot and killed. Gary further advised his vehicle was struck by gunfire when it was parked near the location that Fields was shot and killed. Additionally, bullet hole damages was observed on the passenger side of Gary's vehicle. Gary indicated that the damage on the passenger side was old and was caused when the passenger in the car accidentally shot outwards from inside the vehicle. Gary did not provide the specifics of the accidental shooting, but claimed that it had occurred a while ago. Gary's vehicle was seized pending the service of a search warrant. Gary denied any involvement or having any direct knowledge of the demise of Peacock Jr., but Gary advised that he remained at his home playing online at an Xbox game with his friends at the time of Peacock demise. Gary stated that his mother would be able to vouch, as he was home playing the Xbox game. Gary was in possession of 2 firearms that day. Gary confirmed that he was friends with the victim and admitted that although he was there at the time of his demise, he did not call 911 or speak to police to report what he had witnessed. Gary added that he went to his friend's house after and remained nearby as police processed the scene. Gary was in possession of 2 cell phones at the time of his interview, but both phones were seized pending the service of a search warrant. And the last person to be interviewed about this case was Rara baby mother, Samara Jones. Jones had stated that she had not been in Campbell Acres neighborhood recently and adamantly denies that she drove Bailey to Curry's home on November 12, 2017. Jones stated she had no knowledge of the homicide of Peacock Jr. Jones denied knowledge of exact whereabouts during the night of November 12, 2017. However, confirmed that she knew he was in Fort Myers riding his dirt bike. Jones stated she had no idea where Bailey's dirt bike is currently. After all this, the month later, detectives finally had permission to go in Curry's cell phone, and several calls and text messages, documents, and the records from the cell phone company were not included within the content downloaded to the iPhone. This confirmed that Curry erased all history and text messages from his iPhone prior to the completion of the download. So after confirming the text messages, they ended up meeting with a guy named Wakees Carlos. And because of all this, the only guy that was charged for holding it solid was Kendall Curry, for not saying anything and for not cooperating, and eventually trying to delete his text messages. Almost 3 years later, Rara had an attempt on his life in 2020. It was January 29th. A shooter was on the loose after a drive-by. A gunman shot at a car at the intersection of Northwest Cape off Northwest 1st Avenue. And according to CCPD, the victims were at the 1100 block of Northwest 1st Avenue heading home when the occupant of another vehicle fired around 5 shots at them. The bullets hit the front passenger door and the victim's vehicle. The suspect then fled the area. The victim could not recall the make and model of the vehicle. There was no injuries in the shooting. Rashane Bailey, aka Rara, who was the victim, told the local news he believed the drive-by shooting targeted him and his 2 friends as they sat in the car. Our passenger side got hit up, Bailey said. We still alive. We still breathing. We all here. Bailey said the bullets came out of nowhere and without warning. Quoting, like someone knew we was coming home or someone knew what car we was in, with one neighbor saying. Even if it was targeted, just to hear that it was in your neighborhood, you feel scared. Now he escaped that life and he turned to fishing. It was meditation. Can't say I'm mad at him, but the mistakes that he did prior, this was catching up to him. Cause all while gaining success within the last 3 to 4 years for fishing, he gets another attempt on his life over the weekend. May 3rd, 2024, Rashane Bailey, 28 years old now, was shot in a red sedan. According to reports, witnesses told officers that a Ford Expedition 5 rounds into the ongoing traffic. The report said that the red Sinatra was traveling westbound on Martin Luther King Boulevard, veered off the road and crossed the median and crashed into a Ford F-150. But the only reports was Rara mom indicating that he's still alive, thank God, but he's in a wheelchair, not walking.
Of his red car, that's the car that crossed the median, and he came running over to my car and said, really, he seemed very panicked and he seemed very afraid, and he said, call 911, please call 911.
Tonight, we're hearing from a nurse who jumped in to help a local social media star who was shot in downtown Fort Myers. The shooting then caused a car crash near MLK Boulevard and Michigan Avenue. The man who was shot is Rashane Bailey. He goes by Hoodfishing on his social media pages.
Fort Myers police say someone shot Bailey's car. He veered over the median and crashed into a truck. Now, tonight, detectives are looking for whoever was in this Ford Expedition. NBC2's Samantha Romero is live at the scene of the shooting and the crash in Fort Myers. She spoke to Bailey's mother. Samantha, how's he doing?
Yeah, Rasheen Bailey's mother told me he isn't walking yet. He's still in a wheelchair, but he survived after being shot and crashed with a Ford F-150 right at this intersection yesterday afternoon. I also spoke to another witness tonight who told me it was scary seeing it all unfold just feet away from her.
I don't know if I'd be here to tell the story if I had been hit.
Janet Mayako told me if she wouldn't have switched lanes when she did, she might have died yesterday afternoon.
As I moved over, he kind of pulled up in front of me, and he's the one that got hit, and it wasn't me.
Mayako says she saw a red sedan crossing over the median and crashing into a silver Ford F-150 right in front of her.
And it was pretty shocking, actually, to see it right in front of your eyes.
That's when her nurse practitioner instincts kicked in. She pulled over to the side of the road and saw Rasheen Bailey, who was in the red car, running towards her before speeding off.
Really, he seemed very panicked and he seemed very afraid, and he said, call 911. Please call 911.
When she ran towards the scene, she saw bullet holes in the red sedan and the owner of the truck panicking outside.
He looked like he was in pain. It looked like his chest was hurting a lot. He was bleeding a little bit.
Officers said they later saw Bailey 3 streets down from the crash, getting out of a different car, flagging down officers, saying he was shot. He was taken to the hospital. According to a Fort Myers Police Department report, witnesses told officers someone in a Ford Expedition fired rounds onto Michigan Avenue. Police recovered this truck, but are still searching for the person of interest.
Whatever's going on in your life, you can't use violence to solve anything.
I talked to the owner of that Ford F-150. He says he's okay, but it's been a hectic 24 hours after his truck was totaled. If you know the driver of that Ford Expedition, call
News clip out. Now I know that was a lot, family, but I went through countless of documents over the weekend, so I didn't decide to hurry up and put it out. I wanted to try to paraphrase everything to give you guys a full context of what's really going on here. Now, everyone who lost their life in this video, we want to say rest in peace and love and condolences to you guys' family. It's a very unfortunate situation, but this is the reality of life. No matter how good you think your life going, if you did something in the past, it could haunt you in your future. Y'all let me know how you guys feel about this one in the comments. This was the story of a popular social media influencer who managed to turn his life around, now getting caught up from his past. By the way, I'm not saying he right or wrong for telling, that's not my job, but he did cooperate on something that he was involved with that started for him. And as we saw by the text messages, people wanted to ride for him. So be the only person in jail was the dude that was riding for you while you trying to live your best life. You can only imagine how that make him and his loved ones. It's an unfortunate situation all around. Talk to me in the comments. Fam, make sure y'all like and subscribe. I'll catch y'all on the next one.